several of us that are here in this space right now were in a meeting with one of the senators a couple months ago. And, we had expressed that we were having problems with Cardin, it wasn't being moved forward. And they said the exact same thing, that typically when a bipartisan bill such as this is having a hard time getting marked up, it is usually a top down problem from the administration. So, like Shabnam said, that's why we're trying to go around that and really focusing on other senators in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, as well as, all of the senators as a whole. And, and the point about them, the administration really wanting to approach quote unquote diplomatic appeasement policies. It's really, their effort. This is an election year. They want to kind of try to be diplomatic with a regime that we all know is irreformable, unchangeable, and will continue to behave in bad ways. But just remember, there isn't even an envoy right now. And an envoy to Iran or the Islamic Republic has to be Senate confirmed, and there is no one that president has even selected for this. So there's not even going to be an envoy by the time the elections come around. So I just wanted to add that point.
Thank you. Hang on, June.
Thank you guys so much. I apologize for being nasal. I hope I'm clear enough. I'm dealing with a bug, but the best thing we can do right now, despite all of these walls that we're kind of facing with Cardin's department, is March 5th, especially for us Californians, all the way to first week of November, get Iranian voter registration up. We do not have a great statistic when it comes to voting. We are one of the most affluent minority communities in the United States, especially states like California. Yet we are behind Hispanics, Chinese, and a lot of other minorities when it comes to casting our votes. Second of all, leave the party alliances away. I've said this. I think Nick maybe remembers this. I said this a year ago. Re-register yourself as an independent. When the Democratic Party starts losing Democrats to the independent party, when Biden or whoever is running Biden's camp sees that their specific minority camp is leaving the party and they are re-registering as independents, that's when the top-down strategy is going to change. I am in the midst of a campaign right now. I'm running a statewide campaign right now, and I'm telling you, I have the lowest turnout within the minority community in Orange County. I have the city of Irvine, which is the second largest Iranian populated city in all of United States. The Iranians have the lowest turnout. So how are we supposed to pass legislation when we're not even registering to vote, which is the basic thing we can do? So I urge you, every phone call you make to any of these senators, all these emails you send, also call your family members and your friends and make sure to register to vote. Because as long as we don't mean anything to them, because our turnouts are low, because we don't, as somebody else mentioned earlier, it's not like we have proper lobbying organizations lobbying for us. Thank God Nufti is around and other organizations, are coming around. But we need to show them that our votes come in such high numbers, like we did. We did that with Garvey's camp past couple of weeks ago. We are the reason why Garvey's number shot up so much in California. Let's do that across United States. Let's show them that no matter what, I don't care if I'm a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican, I will leave my party for Iran. And the Democrats, they only care about two things. So do the Republicans. Let me do this. It's no different on two sides. Your vote, and if you don't have that, your money. If you're not giving them any money, then at least please give them your vote. So get at least 10, 20 people to register to vote for this election. That's all I was going to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Engamajun. And then also, if you have your information, and then also, Bijanjun was about Henry. So let's share them, put them in the nest. And then I was also thinking that if our Jewish friends could also join us, especially in California, and then vote for example, Senator Garvey, and then also non-democratic candidates. That would be wonderful. Getting help from Jewish community, Ukrainians, and then yeah. So I don't remember who's next. Maybe Sammy or David. I don't remember. Sorry.
I think it was Sammy.
Okay, Sammy, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the great space tonight. So I wanted to mention what Nick was talking about, reaching out to Senator Kane. I just reached out this past week and copied some other people that joined us in that last meeting a couple of months ago. And I specifically asked to please urge Senator Kane to, speak to Senator Cardin, see what he can do to have him mark it up and all that. And I sort of just got a one-liner back that, I'll keep you updated. So I encourage everyone to please reach out to his legislative staffer, and, especially Virginia constituents, and really try to influence him, and I think that would be helpful. And requesting this also from our Jewish friends here in the space as well. Also, I think it's important to, when we do tweet Cardin, to tag the handle for his foreign policy advisor, Thomas O'Melia, Melia. And I think Shabnam June said she was going to, add that up in the nest. But I think it's really important to include him because he may be currently opposed to it. And, activists have been told that we're not moving forward with the bill at this time and all that. But I think that we need to keep the pressure up on his staff, and as well as the interim U.S. envoy for Iran. I understand that, I don't understand all the details behind that, but I know that he's just the interim person, Abram Pally. But I think he's sort of, there hasn't been much pressure on him when Robert Malley was in place, and how horrific that guy was. There was a lot of people that were going after Robert Malley and attacking him. But I feel like this guy here in the interim, I see that he's sort of trying, in terms of statements only, I should say, to be more stern against the Islamic Republic. But I think that we need to still keep that pressure on him because he is part of the Biden administration. And ultimately, they're the ones that are, involved with the holdup of all the Iran-related legislation. So I wanted to say, let's keep the pressure on that guy as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I need help. I think it's David, then Hope, then Tam, and then Crazy 8.
Hey, thanks. So, I've heard a narrative before that the movement to free Iran uh, is somehow anti-Kurd. I haven't really seen any evidence of this, but I keep hearing it. As far as I know, that's not true. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. What is a good, I guess, when I come across like an American who's relatively new to this, and I say, well, support free Iran, and they say, well, they want to kill the Kurds or something. What's a good response to those people? Are they, are they just being ignorant? Are they bad actors? Now that I'm in Iranian space, I want to know, what a good response is, because I hear that relatively often, and it gets, it's something I want to hear, from Iranians, what I should respond with, and I know, Ronak's in here, she's a Kurd, so yeah, I want to know what should I do when I hear this narrative? Thanks.
I'm going to get help about this, but so what I can say is that every time we are making progress, in some areas when it comes to legislations, or getting attention, the regime in Iran has all these different what is that, like, I don't know what you call them, like plans
Bad
or whatever.
Bad actors.
uh yeah, but not scenarios. So that was the word I was looking for. So they have all these different scenarios, and then there are people who, like Tamjun said, who are bad actors. We know a few of them who've been going to all these spaces and talk about, negative things about Iran. In my opinion, it's a waste of time and energy addressing them. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna let others speak about it, because a few of these accounts are very unreasonable people. They are not even Kurdish. Even if they're Kurdish, they're not from Iran. I don't know about Kurds in Turkey, Iraq, or other places, but Kurds in Iran are Iranian, like Turks, Lors, Zahedanis. All these people are Iranian, and nobody is really, as far as I know, talking about separatism or things like that. So, in my opinion, every time we are making progress, or getting some attention, these bad actors start creating chaos or divisions, or things like that. So maybe just explain to them that I don't know. I'm gonna get help from Tam. I don't know what to say, but personally, I don't get involved because they're just very unreasonable people and they like chaos. And then they go to some spaces of some of these famous people who like chaos as well. So that's just a waste of energy for us. We can put that energy on our advocacy. So Tamjun, go ahead if you can explain about this.
I totally agree with you, Shabnam, and I want any help from my peers within this panel. I would say stop going to their spaces. Stop giving them credence. These people want to say the most horrific things about Iranians, and any logical person can, like you, David, can deduct that these are bad actors. And just like Ronak, who has um, uh, been a really good advocate for us, who is a Kurdish Iranian, and so many other Kurdish Iranians who have said, no, we don't want this. And there's other inherent problems with the opposition of these separatists. I want everybody to know this. They point blank said, "What is your objective in Iran?" And they said, "Civil war." That should tell you everything that you need to know. They want the country to be ripped apart into 100 different, well, however many different pieces that they want, and keep them Middle East in strife and problems for in perpetuity, which is a problem for everybody. But aside from that, it's never going to work because it doesn't destroy the IRGC, who would destroy them. It would destroy the Kurds and all of our ethnic minorities. And that is the bigger thing that these bad actors are not speaking to. Um, thank you, Shabnam, for allowing me to speak on this. I think there are probably people who can speak better than I, but I do want to say something else while I have the opportunity. And thank you for holding this space. I really appreciate it. Um, Everyone, legislative activism is our biggest strength. Legislative activism is where you can actually make a difference. So please don't sit on your butt ends. If you have a space, say something. I am not the most educated person on geopolitics, but every opportunity I have and I'm in a space, I'm like, "Hey, do you know about the Massa Act?" And please go check my pin tweet. And oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of other things out there, and let me put that up in the nest. Please do that because it's important. And for our non-American friends, please urge them to go to their governments and say, list the IRGC as a terrorist organization. It not only benefits you as a citizen of your country, it benefits your future as a citizen of your country. You have to do this. It's not even about the human rights of Iranians, which we all care about. It's about the human rights of every one of us globally, because the tentacles of the IRGC destroys too many countries. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hey, Tam, I wanted to give you a quick reply and say that uh, as of I guess about 2 months ago, I just stopped associating with all those people. I stopped talking with them at all. I've unfollowed most of them. I just realized that I was like, well, but I'm only here. I don't have time to listen to unreasonable people. And the reason I asked was because in case I find them in the future, I wanted to know, from the horse's mouth, what a good response would be. And I guess that is that it's just not a good use of time. Thanks for your input.
David, I want to thank you from one human being to another for looking at things objectively, reasonably, and logically. And everybody in this room, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope June.
Thank you. Thanks, Shabnam. June. I actually wanted to comment on what Hengama was just talking about. And Hengama, thank you so much for being here. In California, I'm also in California. So in California, if people want to change your political party, the independent party is called no party preference in California. So when you go to either register to vote or to change your political party or any other information, it's really easy. You just go to change to vote.gov and you just pick the space, the state, I'm sorry, that you reside in. And then the area where it's asking which political party you want to choose, there are 6 in California that we can choose. And then there's one click that says no party preference. And if people truly want to pick the independent party, that's the one that they would click on. So it's a little bit confusing because a lot of people are choosing the American Independent Party, and that is a political party. It is not independent, and that's a very right-wing political party. So I just want to clarify that so people aren't confused over that. And our primary in California is on March 5th, and it's really crucial that we all register to vote and actually vote. If we are already registered, we can no longer obtain a ballot through the mail or register and then get it in time, because there's less than 10 days to our voting time on March 5th. However, we can easily go to a voting center near us, and that's really, really easy to find. And there's a phone number to call. It's 800-345-VOTE. For any questions, and they'll literally tell you where the voting place is right next to our homes, and we can actually walk in person, like I guess starting tomorrow, to vote in advance as well in person. So all of those things, they can be a little bit confusing, but it's wonderful, and I hope that more and more people register to vote and actually participate in the process. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Hope June. And then now that we're talking about election, Hengame June, and then also Bijan, is there anything else you would like to add? Any name, anyone that would need our support?
I texted Bijan to take over, but I'll wait till he chimes in. Yes, all across California, to be honest with you, because keep in mind that as much as we are a democracy, we are a republic, and our voting goes based on our electoral college votes at the end of the day. And California has one of the highest number of electoral colleges for the presidential election. So vote in every category, and I'm begging you, vote from city council all the way to president. And there's some great candidates running. There's some Iranian candidates that are running on both sides. Try to support them. Don't support the ones that are obviously endorsed by Nayak. We don't want them, even if they're Iranians, because we all know that's not who we want on our camp. But one of the things that messes up the voting data, people on both sides, is if you're a registered Democrat and you vote Republican. And you can do that for your down ballot races. For instance, you can be a Democrat and vote for a Republican state assembly or state senator or a city council member or board of supervisor, right? When they see a huge number of registered Democrats voting Republican, that is also a huge red flag for them, saying, oh, what did we do wrong with that community that they're no longer voting for our endorsed candidates? That's pretty much it. If you have any question about where to vote, I know I promised someone about Alameda County. For some reason, I don't have anybody that knows anything about Alameda County just yet, but I am working on it, I promise. But if you have any questions about California in general, or Orange County, Bijan and I are available to answer your questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Engamajun. And then I have a question. So now that we are trying to promote, get Steve Garvey elected, I Google tried to find a phone number, something to reach out to him, but I wasn't able to find anything. Because I was thinking, before Nayakis or like Paya, all these people approach him and corrupt him. So it would be better for us to get close to him, to start talking to him, and then talking about our the request that we have. So how do you think we can, or I mean, I couldn't find any phone numbers or anything. How can we get close to Steve Garvey and try to before anybody else approaches him?
Bijan John, do you want to answer that for me?
Yeah, I can do that. Hi, my name is Bijan Mizarji. I am with Henny down here in Orange County, California. So I'm working on tracking down Steve Garvey's campaign team and get a chance to speak with them and see what his policy positions are in Iran, and hopefully give them some information and help them, guide their policy stance on Iran. Um, and so I think we'll probably be able to do that shortly after the primary, with how busy the run up is. If you've noticed, his Twitter is doing a lot of Spanish right now, so that's probably the group that they're focusing on. But I encourage everyone to vote for him to get second place in the primary, since we have this weird top two system. In the meantime, continue to reach out, by mail or email or on Twitter with his campaign to show your support and what your wants and expectations are. Additionally, with the voting piece here in California and specifically in Orange County, you can vote a provisional ballot in person or online, or when you go to the registrar of voters, you can submit a provisional ballot and then go ahead and vote. Your vote will get counted later on once they confirm your ballot and your registration. So yeah, that's all I have on that. Thank you for inviting me to your space.
Thank you so much. So I know Crazy Eight, Ronak, and David, you have your hands up. If it's about voting, please go ahead, unmute yourself and talk. So nobody's talking about voting. David, is your question about election?
No, it's about free Iran in general, but Ronak and Crazy 8 were ahead of me.
So I know. So I think Crazy Eight was before Ronak, and then I know Ronak wants to address the question about like some of the separatists. So Crazy Eight, go ahead, please.
Hi, thanks, Shabnam. You're doing a wonderful job, and I'm all here for it. So thank you for the advocacy and all this voting thing. I'm not a big I don't know much about like American voting system. Therefore, I'm not going to talk about it. Actually, I came up to talk about two specific things. One of them would be this dude named Farid Zakaria and his recent like his latest special called "Why Iran Hates America" that he's been working on for CNN and CNNI, and this is pure leftist propaganda against Iran. It misrepresents Iranians in a range I've never seen before. it's extremely inaccurate. So maybe those of us who live in America can address that, like shed some light into it, just to make sure that it doesn't get the effect that we don't want, like, the world to be affected about. I'm gonna put this post up on the nest, if you don't mind, and you can see it for yourself. It's utter garbage. Like, why Iran hates America? Iran doesn't hate America. Islamic Republic hates America, and they represent Iranians as extremely anti-Semitic. Extremely misrepresents the history of Iran, especially regarding Mossadegh and his taking over. So definitely do check it out, and combat the propaganda if you can. Also, Shabnam Jun, maybe you need to change the title. Like, join the space takes a lot of space in general. Maybe you can delete that. Maybe mention Iran, just so the space could get more traction. That's all I wanted to say right now. But this Farid Zakaria guy is bad news, and I knew CNN was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. So do address that, if you will.
Sure. And then, yeah, okay. This was my first space.
You're
um,
doing wonderful. You're doing amazing.
thanks. Um, so, Ronak, do you want to address the David's question, earlier question?
I actually was so it was funny. I was coming out of the bathroom and then I see a DM and I got DM to come back and speak. So basically, I'll make it short. If any questions related to Kurds in Iran, here's a real live one, and I know several others. And occasionally, we behave like a secret club and don't always out ourselves or advertise ourselves as such. So, but me in particular, no question is too stupid. Just DM me, and whatever question you have, whether you follow me or not, just DM me, and I'm happy to answer. And I will pretty much leave it at that. Also, Dr. Behruz is a great account to follow. Also, like me, he's also Iranian Kurdish, but he doesn't advertise himself as such. And Alex Kennedy, I don't think he advertises in his profile.
Ronak, we cannot hear you.
I
So
do. It's
David,
just a matter of your choice. But yeah, if you have any questions, just I'm quite sure.
Thank you so much. David, do you have anything related?
Yeah. This is, I guess, a question coming more from an American and Jewish point of view, and that is, so I'm going to make an assumption here that I could be wrong about, and that's why I want to ask in this space. And the assumption is that, I guess it's two things. One is that a lot of the problems in the Middle East, specifically in Israel, in Lebanon, in Syria, are directly or indirectly the result of what the Iranian regime is doing. The next assumption, or I guess theory, is that that a free Iran would directly result in more freedom, and more peace and more stability in Israel, in Lebanon, in Syria, and possibly other parts of the Middle East. And when I talk to Americans, and when I talk to especially some Jewish Americans, a lot of them have the attitude that like that it's not our problem, or why should we worry about that? And you know I see a pattern here that it seems like that they should be concerned, because a free Iran, I feel like, would fix or improve a lot of issues that we're having. It's why Hezbollah gets funding. It's why Hamas got funding. It's why a lot of like bad groups are getting funding, and so it just it seems like a no-brainer to me that, I mean, it seems like everyone, should be on the same page that, hey, that the situation in Iran is screwing up the entire Middle East, and it's affecting, multiple countries, multiple ethnic groups, directly or indirectly through proxies, and it's gonna, um, it's just making the situation bad across the board. So is that true? And is that a from our Iranian point of view, yeah, is that, would that be a true statement? And should that be a reason why anytime I talk with Americans or Jews or whatever that say, hey, this isn't our problem or something, that I should push back and say, yeah, it's everyone's problem at this point, and you really should care. Thanks.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It is everyone's problem. It affects people inside Iran. It affects Israel, Jewish people. It affects America in terms of border, like issues in the border, drugs, and then also losing our service members, which is awful. And then also for our national security, yes. But I'm gonna let Tam explain more about this.
Thank you, Shabnam. Again, if there's anybody else who wants to chime in, please do. I would say this, David. This affects everybody globally. Um, ev- Everybody would benefit from a free and democratic Iran, not to a destabilized region that is rich in oil, gas, lithium, and all other kinds of uh, natural resources that very bad actors want to money grab, take advantage of, take over, and say a lot of ridiculous things in the diaspora. That's never going to come to fruition anyway. What actually will make a difference is sanctions. I know, it's not the answer that I think a lot of people want. It's like, well, what's your plan? What's your plan? I don't. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've been saying what the plan is all along. You don't like it. I mean, I don't know. Get involved in your governments, folks. Get involved with the Massa Act. Get involved with all the other acts too. I would ask you, Shabnam, Nick, Emily, all these incredible voices that are on this panel and in the speaker, Sarah. I mean, my God, this is the who's who of legislative activism in this space. So I would say um, get involved with doing something with your legislators. Please get involved with your friends that live abroad, that live in Europe, and in every reach of every country that you have an efficacy into, and say, please implore every one of your friends to list IRGC as a terrorist organization and implement sanctions. Uh, these things do cripple countries to the point where they are non-functional anymore. Uh, these ridiculous things that I've heard are of the quote unquote uh, people that want to put Iranians in a bad light, who want to put our efforts in a bad light, or they're it's foolhardy. I would say get involved, do everything you can, do something, say something, and get involved yourself. That's Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hey, David.
Um,
Hey, David, I want to add something here that I think is a convincing argument from an American point of view. The key phrase, value of the dollar. That dollar, that currency you're holding in your hand. The reason why it's not a worthless piece of trash is because It's backed by massive firepower. If we don't call the shots, Russia and China do, and a big linchpin of Russia and China's strategy is, guess who? The Islamic Republic. That's really why it matters. It matters in the end so that the dollar that you're holding in your hand means something, and so that our federal government can actually service its debt on our terms rather than China's, because that's who's holding a lot of our debt. So I think this is absolutely critical for them to understand. Even though it's Russia and China, it's the linchpin that holds up those two strategies. And so that's why it matters. Value of the dollar, big time.
Thanks, Ronak.
Thank you so much. So, Mosh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, actually, I was going to start with something else, but Ronak just brought up an excellent point because to the extent that the dollar is, and some people will tell you, impervious, but it's actually not, because in the sense that if you look at the policy regarding the Islamic Republic and the fact that now you have Gulf states that are getting set to join BRICS and moving more people into this, currency that China is looking to start, it becomes very problematic, and that is a result of soft policy on the Islamic Republic. So I wasn't going to start there. Actually, I wasn't going to think about that. So that was an excellent point. I certainly don't want to talk over Iranians about Iran. So the only reason I came up was actually to answer the question about the proxies. And yeah, I mean, the only proxy in the Middle East that's too big to fail if the Islamic Republic falls is Hezbollah, and that's because of their narco terrorism in South America. Which, if you want to know how this relates to America, Iran, Hezbollah, they have taken up proxies in South America. They are very much. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you go to Sin City Cynic's page, he has just I'm not even bother trying to um, curate the amount of information he has on this. There is a ton of information on the Islamic Republic, China, Russia, and Hezbollah. Hezbollah, a non-state actor, which has set up shop in South America. So all this is to say the proxy wars that are ravaging the Middle East are very much just south of America now, and the Islamic Republic plays a huge part in that. Um, so yeah, it's now at the doorstep of America, and certainly concern Americans in that regard as well.
Thanks so much for sharing these. These are very useful information when we call senators that their offices, when we speak to their staffers. We always try to give them reasons that why we think these bills are important. This is not only an Iranian American space. This is, we are all in this together. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing this information. And then also, can you please talk about the UNRWA petition? And maybe if you can put it in the nest.
Oh yeah, Hello Miller's petition. I have to look. I may have done 100,000, but I'll double check. But yeah, I mean it's really unfortunate that Israel had to go into Gaza to get the evidence that we knew existed. That UNRWA is even more corrupt than we thought. But yeah, I'll try and find that petition, and well, I know I can find it. I will put it up there. I appreciate it. There's one other. I'll also try and find one of those articles on Sin's page so I can put up there. That way, you all can go through his page because, like I said, he has spent enormous time putting together a lot of these articles and whatnot, and academic papers on this issue.
Oh, thank you so much. So and Launjun, I think I've been told that co-hosts don't need to raise their hand.
I'm just trying to be polite. Just to quickly add to Moshi's point, yes, there was a 2011 Department of Homeland Security report that directly talked about the Latin American drug trafficking, drug trade, and how they got funding from Hezbollah, who also got funding from the Islamic Republic regime. So that is a point that we have mentioned multiple times in our letters and in our meetings with representatives and senators. So yes, we know about that, and thanks for bringing that up again. Thanks.
Yeah, but also, we do have a actually Hope June always helps us with fabulous resources. We always prepare these different arguments, and especially now that we have things that are happening in Israel, it would be wonderful to add these to our resources and use them when we go to these meetings, when we talk to politicians, because like I said, we are all in this together. Yeah. I think Two Fear's hand is up, but also I wanted to talk about the Cut the Rope campaign. So I wonder, I don't know, Emily, June, Sarah, who would be the best person to talk about this campaign? Yeah, good.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Shabnam, thank you so much for hosting this wonderful space. It's been so long since we've had a space like this where we could all gather and talk to one another. And thank you for co hosting me. Yes, the Cut the Rope campaign. It was Giselle Sharma's idea. Her father, Jamshid or Jimmy Sharmath, is currently held hostage by the Islamic regime in Iran, um, and it has been years now. You can find a lot more information on her page, and I can actually, after I speak, I can go on her page and pin one of her tweets. So you guys can check it out and find more information on her father's case as well. But it was her idea, and a lot of us started posting videos because, this is something that we've actually spoken on, just in regards to the MASA Act as well for advocacy. When you record yourself and your face is out there and you post it online, it gets a lot more attraction and a lot more eyes on it and attention. Um, so we thought that, putting out videos of us speaking and shedding light on the executions that are taking place inside of Iran, it could be a great way to bring awareness to it. And it's also a way to, in a way, support the families inside of Iran that do have relatives that are political prisoners, that either are sentenced to death, even the ones that have lost relatives that have been executed. And during the year of 2023 in specific, there was way more executions than there has been even in 2016. So in 2019. So we just wanted to shed some light on that. And it's been so wonderful seeing everyone, post videos of themselves, even if it's not videos just for their own privacy. They have been retweeting and using the hashtag and tweeting about the executions that are taking place inside of Iran by the Islamic regime. So I just wanted to thank everyone here that has been participating in this campaign. Of course, it was not my idea, but Giselle's, and I wish she could be here to speak on it as well. I can send her an invite to see if she has time to join before we close out of this space. But I think that's all I have to say on it, and I will just pin a few of those videos up here as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily June. And then also, I wanted to add that we can tie together. This hashtag cut the rope with other hashtags, like for example call curtain. So when we call senators and when we post after that, we can use that because it could also be about the politicians taking action. It could be, this is actually something that I stole from what Nick said, if he's still here. So in one of the chat groups, he actually said that Cardin needs to cut the rope instead of allowing Biden to send the regime money for the rope. I loved it, so I stole it from you, Nick. And then also, depending on any, any kind of campaign we have, if it is inside the US with legislations, if it is in Canada, in Europe, regarding IRGC, putting them on a terrorist list. And then, like Emily June mentioned about Jamshid Sharma. So please try to use this hashtag, try to tie the hashtag together with the other ones, so they're all related. So let's go to Fear and then Tam. I think we lost Fear. Tam, you can go ahead.
I can try to get you here back. I would say this about the cut the rope campaign. It's that it is so powerful, but please be descriptive on what you're talking about. So not everybody understands what cut the rope means. It can mean so many different things. Be descriptive, because we are talking to a global audience. While we in this room understand what cut the rope is, a lot of people can get really confused by it. It's a powerful, impactful thing to say, but somewhere in your tweets, please be a little bit more descriptive about what the meaning behind cut the rope is. This is something that I get a lot of question. What's cut the rope? Listen, folks, if I'm getting questions like this, how many people that don't understand what it means also have that will never ask and just skip on right by it. So just be a little descriptive on what the cut the rope campaign is, because it is super impactful. It's quite the visual. I think we can all agree on that. I'm gonna go try to get to fear back.
Thanks so much. Yeah, but also, we could say, like I said, uh, we can connect it to the money that the administration gives to Iran, and then it's spent by Hamas, and the October 7th happens. So we can connect them all together. Bella, you can go ahead.
Sorry, guys. Thank you, Shabnam Juman. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody again and hear your voices. I want to touch on something Up and Over was mentioning earlier, to ask Republicans for help, because I see them on Fox all the time. None of them bring up the fact that Cardin is blocking all Islamic Republic related bills. I have reached out to Senator Cardin. I have reached out to Senator Cruz, even Lindsey Graham, who I don't like at all. But none of them seem to be picking up on the fact that Cardin is blocking those bills. Some of them are Republican bills, so they should at least bring that up. But they go on Fox News and all these other TV stations, and all they talk about is criticizing Biden, which is right. They should, rightfully, they're doing a good job, but none of them bring up the fact that all these Islamic Republic related bills are being blocked by Cardin. So I'm a little bit disappointed regarding that issue. So if we have connections, if you have contacts, or do what I do, I just call and ask them to bring it up every time they're on TV or every time they do an interview. I have yet to see that happen. Hopefully, if we get some more people doing that, we get them to say something on TV, so there is pressure on the Biden administration. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right, but I think putting pressure from all these different sides, it might help. Hopefully, hope June.
Oh, thank you so much, Shabnam. Yeah, I was actually just wondering if APAC would be able to help us with the call list. would APAC or members of APAC or the Jewish community, would they be able to just like, yeah, just echo the call list that we have? We have a really long call list that I just renewed, and I put it in our chat group. It's 2 pages because it truly is a long list. It contains all the SFRC members that haven't co-sponsored, and then other additional senators who are not part of SFRC, but who we think that um, based on their foreign policies, they would likely support the Mass Act. So, yeah, I guess my question is, since we have a lot of friends and community members here, especially from the Jewish community, on the space. I'm wondering how APAC or the Jewish community might be able to help us with advocacy or call lists or calling them, because it truly, this is, the Mass Act, the SHIP Act, No Funds for Iranian Terrorism Act, all of these, the 3 acts already passed in the House, and they benefit the Iranians and the Iranian Americans. They also benefit the Jewish people and the Israeli people, because we know the head of the snake is in Iran. It's Khamenei and his regime. And the richer they get, the more they're going to be able to disseminate their terror across the world, and especially to Israel. So it's a commonality that we both have. And I'm just wondering how we can heighten our advocacy in this manner. And I really do like what Up and Over brought up regarding the Republican senators within SFRC. And, Senator Risch is a co-sponsor. He's one of the first co-sponsors of the Mass Act. So how can we reach them and ask them to help help advocate for this and put pressure on Senator Cardin? I just think we need more help with this. I honestly think that if we had, like 1,000 people on this, we could get it done. It's just I feel like we don't have that many people right now. So just wondering how we can get more help. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Up and Over, and then Mosh. Please go ahead, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, so sorry, I had to jump away for a bit. So on this topic, so AIPAC has endorsed this legislation. Unfortunately, they have their hands full with the Biden administration and his recent anti-Israel stance. They put out lots of action alerts where they ask people to call their congressman. The good thing about the Jewish community, it's pretty broadly diversified across the country, not in every single state, but so there's, people who are willing to write an email and call their congressman or senator in almost every jurisdiction. The Iranian community is a bit more concentrated, which is a setback. You don't have constituents everywhere, but to the extent you can, you got to be reaching and mobilizing those people. I do take the criticism. What the strategy I advocate is you don't want to make this a partisan issue, and that's absolutely right. You want bipartisan support. You don't want to be seen as going against the administration. It was a bit more nuanced. What I was saying is you need to reach and mobilize the Republicans to give them this ammunition, which they will on their own volition want to use. So it's not. I don't think you should go and tone down the criticism of the Biden administration, particularly, because that doesn't get you far. The other, on a slightly different topic, is that with Nifty in particular, you've got an uphill battle because you have this, this AstroTurf group, NIAC, who has spent a lot of money, time, and effort positioning themselves as the voice of the Iranian American community, which I agree they are not. So so you need to, part of the message is to educate Congress and specifically who Nufti is, and they are the real voice, and why organization is more powerful than grassroots, which is also important. But since you have NIAC representing this, this voice who everyone knows and they can brand, and then you have other people, they just think they're dissidents and they already have their NIAC connections. So there's going to be some groundwork and institution building and educating Congress on who Nifty is and why they are the real voice, and that it'll take some time beyond just this one bill, and you can use this one bill as part of that education. just to draw the analogy, APAC is in the opposite position. They were the first longtime group, and there was another group called J Street, who markets and position themselves as the new pro-Israel, lobbying group. In fact, they're a Muslim Brotherhood aligned anti-Israel group. So it's sort of like, but so APAC is the incumbent, and J Street, remarket themselves and tried to make it a partisan issue. So it's a bit of a flip side problem where NIAC is the astroturfed incumbent, and or Nufti is the real voice. So you really have to work hard on, like I said, laying the groundwork, educating them, and viewing this as a long-term effort, not just about the Massa Act, and definitely use that, even if the administration digs in their heels and doesn't let this go through. Make sure you make everything you can out of it by using it as a platform to educate everyone you can, not just about this bill, but about Nufti and also about NIAC and the distinction between the two. That's all.
Thank you so much. Yeah, MASAC is important to us because it brought us all together, and then we're kind of, the advocacy that we're doing. We're kind of using it as a blueprint for future and current and future legislations. I know that Nufti members visit you know senators and representatives, and we do have a few people here who've been like joining some of these meetings with Nufti. Sarah would be the best person to give us more information about Nufti. But also, when we started about a year ago, when we were meeting with some of these representatives, they were all talking about NIAC. But gradually, I think that we are talking less about them, and some of them are familiar. Like when we tell them that NIAC does not represent people, now they know. So we've been able to make some positive changes, but like Hope mentioned, I think that like joining forces, having more people working on these legislations, I think would help us to get these legislations passed faster. Let's go to Mosh.
Yeah, so um, up and over. Uh, One upped and over me a little bit because he kind of beat me to some of my points because he is an intelligent and well versed man. What I will add to what he already said. First, I have no ties into APAC, but I can certainly contact people that do and see what can be done to help around what they're already, as he mentioned, tied up with this war. Um, but also, I think there are a number of communities that have, in several ways, very similar situations to Jews and Iranians, and they're not always the obvious ones. Cuban community, Venezuelan community. There's a lot of communities in America that reach into a lot of different districts in America that have kind of similar stories and have very similar issues with who has sort of abandoned them for the regimes that they would like their countries to have removed. I'm just saying I don't know the exact way in which to do it, but there are communities, like I said, Cuban and Venezuelan come to mind. Um, I spent some time in Miami, got to know both communities, and there are definitely allies out there that you know can help, and two-way street kind of thing. But I'm just saying there are communities that we need to overall be better at organizing together instead of everybody kind of having to do their own individual work because um, more things could get done that way.
I agree with you. Maybe we can think about this, like how we can um, work with other communities, because we all have the same enemy. So it would make sense to all work together. But yeah, maybe we can brainstorm and maybe do a little bit of research and see how we can approach them, and then maybe for future spaces it doesn't have to be necessarily Iranian or like Iranian American. So all these different communities can come together, and then we can be more impactful. Thanks so much, Tam, and then I think David.
I want to piggyback of what Moshe said. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I go to a lot of geopolitical spaces that have been affected by the IRGC. So these are communities globally that have horrific things happening to them. The Nigerians, the Venezuelans, the everybody that Moshe just um, uh, commented on. There's so many. There are people that are even Syrian and that you wouldn't believe that have Lebanese that are on the side of dismantling the IRGC because of things that they're witnessing within their own countries. Europe, every place. And I am telling you, we need to network, get our own I don't know what you call it, but all of us who have been screwed over by the IRGC, because it's not just the people inside of Iran. It's, as we all know, the tentacles, it's the head of the snake. But those tentacles have reached out to a lot of different communities, and we are all on the same page. I have talked to so many people one on one in back channels, and it's like, oh my God, I think we have a real opportunity to globally unite, and I think this is really, really important. And let's do it. That's all there is. Thank you.
Yeah, let's work on this. Think how we can all work together. David.
Hey, thanks. So I was just kind of brainstorming about, what we could do. And so I was thinking about what I could do. So I'm in Georgia. I don't try and hide that. And we recently we passed a bill to define anti to redefine anti-Semitism to include like anti-Zionism, which is, I think, a good step. I know a lot of the people that support it personally. I'm also in a Facebook group for about anti-Semitism. It has about 50,000 users. I'd like to put a post in there that basically says, Iran is the problem, and this is why, even though you may not be Iranian, you may just be Jewish American, but why you should support the Mash Act. Could someone write me something up, and I will post it in every anti-Semitism group I'm in? I'd be happy to do that, and that would get you, you know, that would probably get you a lot of exposure. I'm the admins know me, so they'll immediately post it. It'll definitely get viewed. So yeah, if someone could write something up, obviously it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be 180 characters or whatever. It's not a tweet. This is Facebook. So so if someone could write this up, yeah, I'll post this in every single Jewish group I'm in, and that's about a dozen. And I'll share it because I think I know some of you don't remember this, but I keep making the same statement over and over again. When Jews and Iranians, when we Voltron, we're going to be unstoppable, and that's how I feel, and I think it's true. And so yeah, if someone could get back to me on that, we could work back and forth. I'm also in contact with the people that work the Atlanta Israel Coalition. Those are the people that we volunteer, and we do stuff for the families that are affected by October 7th. and we support the IDF. So I've got a lot of connections, not in the Iranian community, but in the Jewish community, and I think this is worth sharing for them. So wanted to mention that, and we can take the work offline or the DMs or whatever. But want to mention that. Thanks.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for for offering your help. We do have a lot of materials. Maybe I will talk with some of our friends, and then I will share them with you. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. That is, we really appreciate you, and that means a lot. Thank you so much for doing that. I wanted to point out like how the thing that is really happening and that's taking place. We and this applies to like other communities, the Jewish community, the Ukrainian community, all these other countries and people that have been affected by RGC and the Islamic Republic terrorist regime in Iran. If you accept, obviously we know the head of snake is this regime. So if you accept that, you have to realize this advocacy that that started from the Iran Revolution since the Masa Amini uprising in 2022. All this momentum that we got, and especially with this bill, with the Masa Act bill, it's I feel like it's really important for other communities to be involved with this, is because uh, we need to expect that the um, that the Senate Foreign Relations and Congress actually does something. And it's so surprising that even after the October, all this stuff that's been happening, that October 7th massacre, and what's going on with the Houthis, and then we're getting more news about more military aid has been given to, or military equipment has been given to Putin to kill innocent Ukrainians. With all this stuff happening, why isn't the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, why aren't they addressing Iran issues? So, and it's it's good that the people that were active in the Iran Revolution, we got the bill. The timing of it. It's at a it came to their table at a good time for everyone to join and say we need you to take action. And one other point that I want to make, we always say Massa Act, but remember it's Massa Act and Iran bills. We need Massa Act is a declogger. It's declogging this roadblock. It's the punch that gets that opens the doors, or whatever you want to call it. It's getting us through. So there's some people that say, oh, just Massa Act. There's some organizations, I don't want to name, but if anyone says, oh, just Massa Act only, ask them, do you support Massa Act and the Ship Act? If they can't say no, if they can't support the Ship Act, they're not for against the regime. It needs to be Massa Act, Ship Act, or Massa Act. Do you support no funds for Iranian terrorism act? If they can't say that, there's some organizations that can't say it. They just say, oh, just Massa Act, and they have no choice because Massa Act got so much momentum that they support it. The point of Massa Act is not just getting a bill through, which is a great bill, but it's not just about that. It's a legislative act advocacy and the blueprint and everything that we're gaining from that. But it's and in addition, it's about stopping this regime, annihilating this regime, this terrorist regime from Iran that's been a misery to humanity, basically. So it's so great that all other communities will join, and I just wanted to point this part of it out, that, and if people are active in the other communities, if they could explain that this is a declogger mechanism that we have for them to finally address Iran issues, because for us it's not just one bill, it's everything that it means to take a tough stance. It's we all a lot of times say it's the first step or one step in the right direction for in Congress. That's the key here, and that's what we're doing in the U.S. because we already have them on RGC on the terrorist list, and in in Europe and UK and Canada, the most important is obviously first IRGC and getting IRGC on the terrorist list, and then other, they could do other stuff like we're doing. But yeah, I just wanted to point that to give a little bit more, a bigger picture. If you go into to different communities and you're explaining it to them why it's important, and that's why. That's all. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks so much, Nick. I'm not very good at these, spaces stuff, but I want to give the, accept to first request, but I don't see a check mark option next to it. So I assume one of the speakers, if they can go down.
I'll drop down right after this. Want to just piggyback on
No, go ahead up and over.
something David said, then I'll drop down. So, listen, you just spoke about some complexities that even I wasn't aware of. What you need to do to get more Davids out there. Listen, everyone, every space you mentioned, you nailed it. Is talking about Iran and how it affects them, but it's a lot of whining and complaining. So everyone in this space, and I see a lot of faces. We talk in a lot of spaces. Whenever you go into any space, even tangential related, and people whining about the IRGC, give them something easy, specific, and actionable, right? So you guys should draft a Twitter post, draft an email saying, if you want to make a difference, there's something very easy you can do. Call your congressman, call your senator, and deliver this message in these 4 bullet points. Because you know so much more about this. You know the fights, you know the nuances. Boil it down to something simple that they can be inspired by that space, by that email, and quickly call their congressman or send them an email with, hey, you need to support XYZ because XYZ, and it's really important to me. Please let me know your thoughts and where you stand on this bill, or that phone call. And that'll just get, expand your reach beyond, the people who are really involved and active. That's all.
Thank you. You don't need to go down now. We have everyone is good. Josh.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me up. The prior speakers actually kind of hit on what I wanted to say, but I wanted to flesh it out a bit more concretely. So, if up and over's strategy of, writing to your congressman and making your voice heard on policy doesn't work, there's always the option of, trying to vote them out. So, just by way of example, I happen to live in the 16th congressional district of the great state of New York. It's a pleasure to live here, but I have the displeasure of being represented by Representative Jamal Bowman, who is, in my view, hopelessly lost on issues of Israel and Iran. He voted no on the bill to freeze funds to Iranian terrorism that was voted on by the House in November. So there's a primary coming up. There's a general election coming up. Definitely write in, make your voice known on issues so that people have a chance to examine themselves. But at the end of the day, if that doesn't work, there's always the option of voting them out. Thanks.
Yes, that's what actually we are trying to do because, by let's say for example, a lot of us are in California. We are going to vote for Steve Garvey because the Democratic candidates or members were not really good. So I think that's why we're asking if other communities could join us and then put all the votes together, vote people who don't work for us out, and then vote people who actually represent people in. So let's go to Thufir.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and greetings from Melbourne, Australia. Look, just sort of first of all, extending our support and wholehearted thank you to our fellow Iranians in the US for what it is they're doing to salvage what is left of our motherland for a better future for his children. Just sort of wanted to say our strategy here in Australia is essentially going for marginal seats, and the marginal seats where the incumbent is Labour Party, which is essentially in the same bed with the Islamic regime, and they have even refused to disclose information about the terrorist acts of IRGC on the Australian soil. And essentially go and speak to the candidates from the Liberal Party, which is equivalent to the British Conservative and open to designating the IRGC as terrorists, organizations and actually assist them directly in their campaigns, including community awareness about the dangers of allowing IRGC to grow, given the fact that the Labour government had allowed roughly about 300 families from Tehran to recently migrate to Australia under the investment quota system. And it turns out that three of those families are directly related to the family of the current ambassador of the Islamic regime of Khomeini. So that's one. The second thing, if I may, on a grander scale, I think it is critical to identify and highlight the role of the Islamic regime in the fellowship of evil, comprising China, Russia, North Korea, as well as the Islamic regime itself. And the very fact that Islamic regime historically has been promising two things to the Europeans. One, they curtail illegal immigration to Europe. And number two, they will curtail the flow of narcotics, opium, methamphetamine, and so forth to Europe via Afghanistan. Well, the first one, it has, there are reports by the International Organization on Welfare of Refugees that states in the countries of Niger, Nigeria, as well as Algeria, where new pockets of Shiites have been forming, they are technically the platforms by which the IRGC is actually earning money from transporting illegal migrants to the mainland Europe, as well as there are evidence stating that the IRGC is also involved in cross-Atlantic transport of illegal migrants to Latin America, and from there taking them to the borders of Texas. There are reports of the people who are within these groups of illegal migrants are actually trained in using of weapons, and they have basic military training. So this could very well be a sort of a quasi invasion under the guise of the refugees trying to get a better life in the US. Similar scenario we have also in Australia, where people are coming through illegal boats again. The other thing is the second promise, which was the narcotics. The biggest trade partner of Taliban right now is China. They essentially put India out of all the sort of agreements that it had. And with the help of Iran, a lot of the narcotics are now being transported through Lebanon, no more through Turkey because of the Turkey's attempt to blockade illegal activities of the Iranians. And so Hezbollah is technically has become the salesperson for selling of the methamphetamine as well as fentanyl, which is used quite a lot in Holland, as well as it was used against our own schools in Tehran, as well as the other smaller cities. The samples that were taken from the children indicated a very large amount of fentanyl in their hair as well as in their blood.
Hey, hey, did you mean fentanyl?
So fentanyl, yes, that's the one.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's very deadly, and it's flooding across our borders.
Yes, I believe some of your major metropolitan areas are also dealing with the large number of usages that are occurring and the deaths that are coming as a regard of it. But the fentanyl was actually used in the Iranian schools against the children in the late 2022, early 2023. Hair, nail, and skin samples were sent overseas to a laboratory in India as well as in Jordan, and it was corroborated that it actually has traces of fentanyl in it. If I may just also add, it is critical to identify the fact that the Islamic regime in Iran is a picture of an extremely dangerous precedent that is being set forth by China in challenging the global diplomacy and global and international conventions. And so what I would have suggested, Madam Chair, is instead of calling Islamic Republic or Islamic Republic in Iran is a disgrace, because the problem with the disgraces or disgraceful acts is there is always a method to fix it. Islamic regime is not a fixable entity. It has to go. And I would have suggested that instead of calling it a disgrace, calling it a dangerous precedent for international peace and stability in the future. But thank you very much indeed for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if I could get some of the, information you shared about fentanyl. If you have any, like articles, documents, anything that I can, you can share with us so we can add to our resources. That would be very good material to use when we talk.
It would be a pleasure to do so. I do
Thank you.
have some of the information. I actually wrote a paper on that as well about a year and a half ago, and traced it back to the similar method of gassing that was used by the Russians when the Chechen separatists had actually taken over a theater. And I don't know if you remember, in early 90s, it was used against the Chechens, and it caused the death of about 250 Russians as well that died of sudden cardiac arrest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then for the next space, I will be sure to consult with you about the name of the space. Thanks so
Pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Hope to.
Oh, sorry about that. It wasn't unmuting. Thank you again, Shabnam. Um, okay, well, I just wanted to take it back to voting a little bit. And um, we know that the best way we can voice who we are and what we want and what we don't want is through block voting. So the current administration in the White House has consistently done things to undermine the Iranian people's will to overthrow this regime. They funded the Islamic regime in June 2.7 billion, then in September 6 billion, then in November, even though it was almost exactly a month after October 7th, they funded the Islamic regime 10 billion from the frozen assets. So what I'm saying is that over and over and over again, the Biden administration has really, um, lack of a better word, backstabbed the movement towards democracy and overthrowing the dictatorship terrorist regime in Iran. And it's unfathomable to me how they can do that even after October 7th. That is just unbelievable to me. So our advocacy is very, very important. Our legislative advocacy is actually the three bills that passed in the House of Representatives. The Mass Act is to undo the Biden administration and also the previous Obama administration's mistakes with the Islamic regime. So when we want to implement terrorism sanctions by way of codification of law and also the human rights abuse sanctions by way of codification, it is because both of these democratic administrations didn't do that, and they just appeased and enabled the Islamic regime. So it's important to pass this bill, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but it is very important. But the other one is the SHIP Act, right? So the Biden administration is allowing Iran to sell so much oil, illicit oil sales to China. China is buying it at a discounted price from Iran, and they're not supposed to do this. So, by the SHIP Act, we're trying to sanction people that are in the third party who are selling this oil, or buying it. So, again, this is another bill that, under a different type of administration, wouldn't have even been an issue because oil sanctions were being implemented. So again, this is to undo what Biden's administration is doing. And then lastly, the other bill that passed, No Funds for Iranian Terrorism Act, is to refreeze the $6 billion that was released to Iran. And then during the markup process, they also added the 10 billion, which was, I think, already released through Iraq with regards to the electricity. So regardless, it's very important to talk about why these bills are being introduced in the House of Representatives. And I don't think any of these bills would have been necessary under, for example, Trump's administration. Now, I am not a fan of former President Trump's personality nor his stance on many issues. However, when it came to our national security, when it came to dealing with the Islamic regime in Iran, he was tough. So, with that regard, I can say that he was good. So, my, what I wanted to talk about is our power of block voting. When we see an administration or a political party that is undermining our own national security, our welfare, our democratic values, our values for human rights, for safety, and uh, it's time for us to take action. And voting is coming up. It's March is the month of our primary, and it's so important that we stand up and we block vote, and to send a message to a political party that is prohibiting something that's so important, which is just the value of human life. um, so I wanted to say that. I also wanted to mention I was updating the one sheet that's called the Iran related bills. So it's updated by the day of yesterday, 2/24. And I went ahead and I added the political party of every single representative or senator that introduced these bills, these Iran related bills. So the Mass Act, Marco Rubio in the Senate, Republican. In the House, Jim Banks, Republican. The other one, Revoke Iranian Funding Act, it was introduced by Tim Scott, Republican. I can go on and on and on. All of these bills were introduced, whether in the House or the Senate, by Republican members. All of them, every single one of them that we're advocating for. And there's more. There's many more that didn't fit into this one single sheet. But these are the ones that we're concentrating on, that were all introduced by Republican members. And I don't want to say that to say that I'm ungrateful for the Democratic members, the 201 members that voted yes in the House of Representatives. I am very grateful to them because they listened to us. At the same time, I want to give credit where credit is due, that every single bill was introduced by a Republican. And now in the Senate, where the majority is Democratic, and that's why these bills are stuck. This is important to point out, that when the majority of a chamber, like the Senate, is of a political party, in this case, Democratic, all of the chairmen or women of every single committee, now there's 16 standing committees, if I'm remembering correctly, in the Senate. So of the 16 standing committees in the Senate of the United States, all of those chairs are, and they have to be, of the Democratic Party. Why? Because they're in the majority right now in the Senate, which means that Senator Ben Cardin is of the Democratic Party, and he has the power of bringing up a bill for a vote within their committee or not, meaning marking it up. That's the process when it's discussed in the committee. So see how much power they have when they're in the majority. And I'm going to go back to California now. And this is why it's so important for us in California to elect a Republican senator, so that we can hopefully flip that in the Senate to get a majority of the Republican Party. Um, I and full disclosure, before this, I have not voted for the Republican Party, and that was mainly because of some of the other stances that they have. But in this case, my eyes have been open. I've been to so many meetings with representatives and with the senators, with their office members, their staff, and I've seen how they react, and I've seen how much easier it is to speak with the members who are of the Republican Party, because they already are in line more or less with the foreign policy that would be good for the entire world, not just benefiting Iran, not just benefiting the United States, but benefiting the entire world, because we're all in danger when it comes to the Islamic regime, because they propagate this hate, this militant Islamic ideology that they want to propagate to the entire world. So thank you. I hope that made some sense. And I do apologize. I'm a little bit sick, but thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks so much, Emily June.
Yes, I'm so sorry I have to leave a little bit early tonight. Shabnam, I just wanted to thank you for having me and for the wonderful, wonderful space. You did such an amazing job hosting it. And David, thank you so much for offering to help us and everyone who came up. And I look forward to seeing you guys all soon again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily June. We will go through the hands, and then just one or two things that I want to mention, and then we will wrap up the space. So, Lanjun, if you need to go, let me know. Tamjun, can I make you co-host? Okay, so let's go to Bija.
Hi guys, I want to speak off of what Hope talked about. What she said was really awesome. A little bit about me, just so you understand where I'm coming from. I'm half Iranian American. My other half is Ashkenazi Jewish. I'm here in California, and I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and currently I'm a sheriff's deputy. So I've seen a lot of these issues directly when I was out in those combat zones and speaking to the locals and things like that. And when it comes to voting, I'm now a Republican, but for many years I was no party preference, and I would vote according to the candidate who I liked, whether it be Republican or Democrat, who's has my personal interest and situation at heart. But like Hope said, currently the Republicans are doing a lot of things that should be commended. When it comes to voting in block, that's extremely, extremely important. And for me listening to all of you tonight, everyone who I've listened to speak has been incredibly articulate, well-informed, and very passionate. And I can tell that you all care deeply on these issues and that you're all very engaged. And what I would say for all of you, that voting is not enough. If we're going to have a voice with Democrats and with Republicans, I would ask that you take the next step and join the party of your preference and get involved at the party level politic. Sorry for the kids in the background, they're still up, but they should be in bed. So every party, Republican, Democrat, Green, etc., there's what's called a central committee. And the central committee is the leadership body for that county, where members of that party go on a monthly meeting and they talk about their party issues and candidates and different things and their policy positions. And they learn from the people in that room. They develop relationships and friendships with the people in that room. And so that's where I met Henny last year. So when it comes to being listened to, when it comes to being trusted, right? Because if you look at politicians on both sides of the aisle, there's not a lot of trust going on with our community because they're often misled or misrepresented. If you look at the Obama and Biden administrations and the FBI investigation on Robert Malley and his staff, if you look at some of the neocons on the far right, connecting and taking money from Mech and Rajavi, none of those things are what we want. So if you engage at the county level, you talk to those people. There's not a lot of people with Iran expertise, and you guys are all experts. So I'd encourage you to get involved with the party of your choice. And we can attack this problem from three angles. One, people who join the Democratic Party get involved, voice their opinion, make their opinion become the policy. Two, people who join the Republican Party and make those things happen over there on that side the way Penny and I have done. And then the third is engaging with Nufti and other similar organizations that are nonpartisan or bipartisan. And really, that's the three legs of the stool that we're going to sit on to accomplish what we want to do. And so it's important to remember politicians, well, America runs on Duncan, politicians run on money and votes. So we need to be able to contribute both. But before we do that, we need to gain trust and relationship with these people in order to have them believe what we're saying is true, have them trust our opinion and to trust us. So all of you are more than capable, and you're all leaders in your communities and you're leaders in your groups. I hope that you all would take the next step and maybe run for city council or be on a local commission or board, or at least just engage monthly with the central committee of your preferred party. So that's what I'd ask all of you, and you're all wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Wonderfully said, Nick.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bijan. Those were really, really great points. I 100% agree. And thank you so much for coming on our getting in our spaces. We really appreciate you. Um, yeah, I think basically in terms of keeping it, every person being involved, and then at the same time, being bipartisan, right? Whether you're Democrat or Republican, we need our people like that are good with these issues to be involved, and then we won't have these sorts of issues. And I think that's a one great thing that's been definitely accomplished, is that now more people are starting to learn that they need to be active in the politics, because that's where all the issue came about. And then simultaneously, like, as long as we know like the issue, the Iran issue, national security of our country here in the U.S. is really important to us, and when we need to put our parties aside and vote in a block at the same time, even if it's our party and we're working for the Democrats, or whether it's working with the Republicans, if needed, we act in a block and then vote against or for the ones that have our best interests, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. That's a really, really great strategy. And yeah, if so yeah, I really like that, and us getting involved definitely is going to be a big step. And the other thing that I was going to say is that I think all the stuff that we're doing, whether even if it's a so basically what happened, the way I view it, we've been backstabbed by I mean, I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be partisan, but we have been backstabbed by this administration. There's no denying of that, and one of the reasons for that is because of we haven't been that involved in the politics. We have to face the truth. Now we can't, even with Trump. I think Trump will be the of course, like there's no doubt about that. Trump will be way better than Biden. But even then, we have this scar that we do not want to be backstabbed, no matter who it is, no matter how great of a guy we think they are. So I still think that these legislative activism, it's really important, because that our checks and balances, and it puts it gives us the power with the checks and balances through Congress to have something on the executive branch. Because once the executive branch gets in, we learn how tough it was. Mr. Nice Guy Biden funded the ropes that goes around the necks, the nooses against on our people in Iran. We can't have that. We couldn't do anything. We cannot have that happen again. And that's why I think it's really important for us to continue the legislative activism. And of course, we're going to build relationships with whether it's Trump, whoever, Republicans or whatnot. But we still need to be involved in the politics, like just like Bijan mentioned, to make sure that the checks or balances are there. It's in our favor the way that we want it. Like there's great bills. I mentioned one of the bills, for example. We still want to have a checks and balance. What if Trump is, there's some sort of deal that needs to be made. They want to make a deal with the regime. We still have a bill by Senator Haggerty of Tennessee that brought in that any sort of deal with the regime needs to go through Congress. We should have that. If we're worried with Trump, maybe Trump making the deal, let's put that in place. So nothing should stop our advocacy. We have the scar with Biden. We should, and we know Trump will be great, but let's not take the chances with anyone and be involved and build our relationship. So I think it's really good. I think it's something great that we learned at least. It's never too late, and we're going to come back stronger from all of this. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me speak. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Nick. Actually, I wanted to mention that. So, all the bills, the updated version, that I think is in the nest. Hope June, this is the latest version that you shared. And then also, there is another thing in the nest. There is a very important hearing on Wednesday. The information is in the nest. So the hearing is about a committee hearing titled Tehran's Shadow Army Addressing Iran's Proxy Network in the Middle East. And then there are two witnesses. The witnesses are Melanie Suzanne, if I'm not if I'm saying the name correctly, and then also Brian H. Hook. I was actually, that's a question that I have. I don't know, Nick, anybody else here can help me. Would it be a good idea for us to start reaching out to these two witnesses on Twitter, social media, and then I don't know, like what should we tell them, how to, I don't know, I think I need some information about this. So I don't know who can help
Nick,
with this.
can you help out with that?
The question about was on the witnesses. I think
Yeah, so
Brian
reaching
Hook
out to
is
them.
really great. He was an Iran envoy during Trump administration. I don't know about the other person much,
Mhm.
but yeah, just trying. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know a whole lot. We could brainstorm. I guess trying to get a little bit of a little bit of attention through whether it's Twitter or maybe some organizations that they're on. Finding their emails. I think both of the people I heard are okay. I mean, the other person's okay too. We know Brian Hook was a great person on Iran issues, but if there are some ways to, I don't know, maybe some contact information someone could find, that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. But I think overall they're good, so it's not a big worry or anything.
Okay. Yeah, so the other person was an external advisor to senior State Department officials during the Obama administration as a member of Secretary of State to Condoleezza Rice policy planning staff. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking to reach out to them, but I wasn't sure what we should tell them. So this is the hearing is posted in the nest. Please watch it. These are very important. And then also, yeah, I'll let Tam go ahead, and then I have one last question. So go ahead, Tam.
Thank you. I just wanna implore everybody in here to get involved. Don't be bashful to talk about these situations in your social settings. I've been at birthday parties and brought up the Massa Act, and at first I thought, oh my God, this is so whatever. But I ended up with a group of people around me who wanted to learn more, and I educated them on it. Two, reach out to everybody in your diaspora who is not registered to vote and get them to vote. This is so, so important. Those are for those of us that are here in the United States. It's a right, it's a privilege, and we should be exercising these. And third, for all the other people that have been affected by the IRGC, certainly our Israeli brothers and sisters who just had the most horrific, disgusting act happen to their country. And then the the mind blowing backlash that is occurring. We have to battle that on every front. Uh, and then everybody else that you have an opportunity to speak with that are in other communities that are getting affected by terrorism from the IRGC, they want to get involved, but you've got to give people some direction. Tell them to legislative activism is important. It does work. It if we could sanction the dog snot out of Iran, that sends a clear message, and it financially cripples them. I know I'm saying all this with the horrible realization that the United States is being led by an appeasement policy leader. Uh, we have to come at this administration hard while they're still here. And everything that Nick has said, Shabnam and Hope, everybody in this group, um, take it to heart and do something, say something, get involved in any way you can, because these things are important to global peace. I don't even know how else to say it. Get involved. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't think that approaching a quote unquote taboo subject in a social setting is not. It is okay. You will be surprised by the positive feedback that you can get. People want terrorism to end, but you have to speak. You have to say something, and you have to educate people. Always just assume people know nothing, because a lot of people don't. So, start from the basics and move your way up. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tamjun. Yes. So when it comes to grassroots advocacy, I am a very very shy person, and when I started with Mass Army, I was so shy that making my first call to a representative's office, I was sweating. I didn't know what to say, so it was very embarrassing. But I kept at it, and I kept working with this wonderful group of people, very supportive, very knowledgeable, very focused. They don't get involved in like all this extra nonsense that is happening on Twitter, and so find the right people, join the right people who are focused, and then let's just all work together. So that's why I wanted to ask if about bringing all these communities together, if our Jewish friends, American friends here, any other communities, let me know if you're interested, if you have the time, so we can create a chat group, start working on this, because sometimes we talk about things but we don't really have the time to get them done. But I think that's my personality, that when I talk about something, that has to happen, otherwise I'll go crazy. So please let me know if you are able to help, if you're interested, and then a few of us, maybe you can create a chat group and start working on this, bringing other communities in and working together against this evil regime. We don't want to see our people in Iran get executed. We don't want to see any October 7th happening, like raping women, whatever, all the um, evil things that happened in on October 7th. I know that a lot of our friends in our Massa army group, we were all devastated when like every time an execution happens, every time something bad happens in the world. So please let me know so we can work on this together. um Thank you so much for joining my first space. Thank you so much for your help, for your support, for being wonderful friends and like my family. So I appreciate all of you, and then all the new friends here. I think that we should so I will prepare I will work with the rest of the team, and we'll prepare something for David. We will continue working on that the voting thing, and then if Bijanjun can let us know if we can reach out to Garvey's office. So we need to get close to all these politicians before Nyack or anybody else does that. And then if you have any questions, let wonderful people on the speaker panel reach out to them. And thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. Oh, and Tam, co-host, anybody wants to say anything? Launju and Tam, any last words?
Yeah, let me say something. Shabnam, you
Yes.
said this is your first space.
Yes.
So I've been in a lot of spaces, and I want to point something out. Nobody was interrupting. Nobody was yelling. This is one of the best spaces I've ever been in, and want to thank you.
Thank you so much, because everybody in here is wonderful. I didn't do anything. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all the speakers that came up. Thank you for all the listeners down in the panel. We appreciate every last one of you. If you have any feedback, please funnel that through our amazing host. If you want to reach out to any one of us that have been speakers, you are more than welcome to do that. We will get back to each and every one of you. Thank you for your time.
Anything from anybody else? Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Talk to you all soon.